Hi there, students. So today we are having some issues with Zoom. So I thought I would just do today's lecture in a short video and give you guys a chance to watch the video and try some of my editing techniques that I wanted to show. So today I want to show three techniques. One is creating a light flare, two is creating a double exposure, and three is adding a texture to your photographs. And I'll show you how these can work. So obviously, I'm always pulling pictures out of Lightroom. You can see I got one of my example pictures out of here. Actually, I got all of them out of here. I've already loaded those examples into Photoshop. And so I want to start by doing the double exposure first. So with the double exposure, you're going to need two images. So I have this is kind of a background image that I'm going to use. And this is going to be kind of the main or foreground image, the main subject that I want to use for this. This is quite a few steps. You obviously can pause or rewatch my video. You might also just jot some notes so you can keep up with it. So with this image, the first thing I want to do is I want to remove the background. I actually want to make a white background, but removing it will be the first step. So I'm going to start with just a simple subject select. We've done this a lot of times, so I'm not going to go into great detail about how to do this. You should know at this point how to do it. I think I like this selection. I think I want to add her hand and see how that looks. And there is some flexibility with changing this selection later. So I'm doing a shift, click, and drag to add her fingers here, and an option drag to remove some of that. Let's just see how that looks. We'll see later if we like it or not. And then I'm going to mask that off so I have that clean background. And no, it's not perfect. You'll spend time and make yours perfect. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to add a new layer, and I'm going to fill that layer, edit, fill with white right there. Easy peasy. Move that underneath here. Perfect. I think I want this in black and white, so I am going to add a black and white adjustment layer. And this gives me some flexibility to adjust the tonal range of things here. I'm just going to leave it like this for now. I can come back and adjust this again later too. In my layers, I want to clip this together, these two things. To do that, you hold Option, hover between the two layers, and click when you see that little down arrow. That means that that black and white layer adjustment layer only affects the layer right underneath it here. Good. So far, so good. I think that's set. Let's grab, let's go ahead and grab my second image here, my background image. And I want to grab this layer, and the fast way to move this in is to click on the layer, pull it apart, hover to this one, and drop it right on this. And now it's in. Okay, I'm going to use my Move tool and move it into place so it kind of matches up. Later, we'll adjust it again. I am going to transform it. I don't want these little things here. So I had a wide-angle lens on my full-frame camera, which gives me these little crops here, these little pieces that basically it's seeing like the edge of the lens. So I want to adjust it. Command-T is the shortcut for transform. And I'm going to Option drag so it pulls it out equally. And then I'm going to hit the check mark here. For now, that's good. I might adjust it again later because we'll see how it fits into it. Here, I want to go black and white on this one as well. So I'm going to use that black and white adjustments layer. And I do want the sky to be brighter. So I'm going to go much brighter on that. And you can adjust how much contrast you want in this. Yeah. I kind of like that. Okay. And I don't like it that much. I want it to be brighter in the sky. Like that. Okay. Good. Good. So now I have my black and white adjustment layer. And what I want to do is I really want this to show up only. So I want this to show up only in her. So let's see how I can do that using an overlay technique. Multiply. There There we go. Screen is going to be the one. And you can see, so my thinking when I did this, I don't like her hand very much. My thinking when I was doing this, and again, I'm going to clip this here like that. And my thinking was that I wanted it to be like she's like reminiscing about home, and this is like her farm home. So I want that to go there, like that. Something like that. And so now you see I need to transform this piece again. So Command T, and I'm going to drag. I'm going to do an option drag so it stays kind of centered, and pull it up just there. I kind of like it like that. There we go. I don't like the hand here. So to get rid of the hand, I just go back to my layer 0 here, my original one, and use my paintbrush tool with black, right, on my masking layer. Just mask that out so it doesn't show up anymore. I can also take this mask. I noticed that it's a really hard edge here. I'm just going to feather that out a little bit just to soften it. I don't know, 4 or 5 pixels. And it's going to just depend on your image. Even 6. That looks better. And I also think we could crop this just a little bit. So I have a lot of negative space over here. So I might just crop this down. Oh, Photoshop, don't do this to me. Man, for some reason when I try to crop in Photoshop lately, it has really caused an issue. I get this spinner wheel. And I don't know why. Okay, I had to reboot Photoshop, but I am back, and I'm getting back to where we were. I believe I was in here, and I feathered this about 6 pixels, something like that, to soften the edges. Actually, that looks like too much now. Go back down to 4 or 5. There we go. And then finally, I need these. I'm going to hook these together, and I think I kind of did this. It must not have remembered what I had already done. Of course not, right? And so then my last thing here was to bring this down to screen mode and maybe move this around a little bit here so that it was, oh, not that, this. Why is it doing that? So I was transforming this. So I moved this here into her head and did an option drag, increasing the size of this. Oh, I didn't remember a lot of my stuff here. Maybe a little bigger. There. Check mark there. I'm just noticing it didn't remember that I did this. Not that. Let's bring that up to 100. Remove that out. And I think I'm liking where we're at here. The last thing, I'm going to try this again, and it's hopefully it doesn't crash. We cropped this. We're about to crop it. And my thought was to crop it like that. Maybe a little bit here. Like that. So we're thinking on like, oh, I can't go that way. Yeah, undo that last one. So we're getting close to getting it onto thirds, maybe. Yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but this is the idea, right? Hopefully you're getting the idea from this, right? So in my photograph here, the story I would try to tell using this technique is like, there's a young girl, she's reminiscing about home, back on the farm, etc., etc., etc. So that's the idea. Okay, good. So that's your double exposure technique. I don't need to save this. Here is a technique for bringing in texture. So I have this really pretty standard clean backdrop portrait, and I want to make it a little bit more interesting maybe this backdrop is too smooth and too boring for the kind of picture that I'm looking for. So I want to bring in another image. So I actually pulled this from my archives. This is a picture of, literally a picture of concrete. It's a concrete wall that I took back in October of 2019. Look at that. October 2019, I took this picture of a piece of concrete. Actually, this is in New York City. So I'm going to take this piece of concrete, bring it into this photograph. I showed that last time, so let's show it again here. Not like that. Grab this layer, pull it across, hover here, let it flip over, and drop it down. What? That was dumb. That was dumb. There we go. That's what I'm trying to do. Just say yes. Good. Match them up. Good. Change this blending layer here to screen. Went past it. No, not screen. Overlay. Boom. Now, you could use soft light here. See the difference? I think I like the way screen gives it that warmer tone. I'm sorry. Overlay gives it a warmer tone compared to soft light. You can make a choice here. You can look at all these different, I mean, maybe you want it to be really intense. That's that vivid light is going to give you a more mid-tone contrast. I think I'm going to stick with overlay on this one. And I am going to do a subject select on my bottom layer. And I'm just thinking, like, I don't want all this texture to also show up on her face. So I'm going to create a mask of her, and then I'm going to invert that mask here, and then I'm going to unlock this, like move this up to layer 1 and lock it here instead. And now look, there's none of that texture is on her face, but yet we've created some interest, some intrigue in the background. It's a little bit more interesting. And you can use all kinds of textures. I've photographed pieces, like big pieces of rock, or like rusty metal works often. It looks kind of cool. So yeah, you can try photographing kind of abstract things. Really work well for background textures. Pretty simple and straightforward. Good, but it can increase the storytelling ability of a photograph, right? So useful technique there. Okay, one more. So let's, darn, I should have gotten another image ready for this. Let's grab an image. I don't have my catalog open though. Let's see if I have one. Let's close all these out. I don't need these. Don't save. Let's see if I have something. What could I use here? Let's try. Documents. What could work? Maybe like one of these. Let's try this one. First thing I'm going to do is change this size, image size, and I'm just going to shrink this way down so it's not such a big file. Obviously I've done lots of editing on this already. Let's just not worry about all of that right now, and just I'm going to make this into a folder group here, and I'm going to start fresh here, because all I want to do is I want to add, let's just pretend I want to add some kind of light flare coming out of these bushes over here. So I create a new layer. So I have all my editing done, and this is going to happen on top of all my editing. So I'm going to go edit fill, and I'm going to fill it with black to start. So I just want a black border there. Then on this same layer, I'm going to go filter, and I want to do, I want to render a lens flare. And here's my lens flare. I like to use this 50 to 300 zoom. I really like it. Other people might like this 35 prime. That works too. I like this because it's a little bit softer here. So look at the difference here and here. You can adjust the brightness here. I'm going to go somewhere like around 120. No, less. Too much. How about 100? hit OK, and that puts this lens flare in. Now, the cool thing about this is now it's on its own layer. I can control that layer all by itself separately from everything else. So I typically mask that layer, and then I want to change this layer from normal to lighten or screen. Screen seems to work on this image. You can, again, play with these and see what looks right for you. This linear dodge looks pretty good too. Yeah. I'm going to go with screen. I don't know, that linear dodge looked good too. I might go with that. And now I have control of this lens flare. I can pull this lens flare so it even goes off the screen. So this lens flare doesn't make sense the way it is right now. Like, I can't just, I'm throwing a lens flare in the middle of some weeds. Like, that's not going to look right. So really, lens flares typically happen when the sun is shining right into the lens. So I'm looking at putting it in the sky or something. So I could do a transform. So I could do an edit, transform, and maybe I need to flip it over the vertical. And now I also need to flip it the other way too. Transform, flip it over the horizontal. Oh, it's still not where I want it to be. Okay, Command T. I'm just doing a free form. Transform, and put this up there. Check. And here. So now at least it's like coming out of the sky. It's too bright for me, so that's where I would maybe use my brush tool with black, right? To brush in and remove some of this, maybe the opacity at like 50%, and just soften it here by removing some of that lens flare out. And maybe I don't want it to really shine on her face, because her face is really important to me, but it's still in the background. Maybe a little bit it shows up more on her arm here, right? And now you've created a lens flare that you have control over, right? I can move this. Oh, wait, I like it better here. Boom. And you have control over how much intensity you have of that lens flare. Right? And I'm going really fast. You're going to want to make sure this is nice and evened out. So that's how you can bring in a unique lens flare into your photograph. I don't know that this, I would never probably pick this photograph specifically to put a lens flare. I'm just showing you an example, right? So, 3 techniques. Like a lens flare, a double exposure, or adding texture to your photograph. I'm trying to show you more ways to bring a story into your photographs, right? To really emphasize the story of your photograph. So what I'd like you to do is finish your editing of your pictures. You need at least 4 pictures completely edited. I'd like to see a final draft ready for critique tomorrow during class. So looking forward to seeing you tomorrow and seeing your images.